So the Pole to Paris concept kind of was born out of frustration, actually. And myself and a colleague, Erlend, who's another Norwegian scientist, just felt that the gap between society and the science of climate change was too big. And this year in particular is incredibly important because in Paris this year there's a pivotal conference on climate change called COP21. And this is kind of our last chance really to do something about climate change. So if policymakers and our heads of government don't do something, we're in trouble. It's also very difficult for the public to engage in climate change. It's a very abstract concept, it's happening slowly. So we decided that we'd try and tell it in a new way, in a new narrative. So I'm undertaking a cycle from the Antarctic to Paris, and Erlend, my colleague, and other members of the team are running from Norway to Paris, with the origins of both the journeys being at the poles. And the polar regions are the parts of the planet that are experiencing climate change most rapidly and the most visible right now, and kind of where the alarm bells are ringing first. So the idea is we'd take these journeys which people can engage in and then attempt to tell climate change stories across the world. So there's an incredibly passionate group of people working here trying to maintain this, one of the last remaining natural areas in Bangkok. They're working very hard to improve the water quality because of obviously the many sources of pollution in the city.
พอถึงสุดท้ายถังสุดท้ายเนี่ยเราจะใส่ไบโอบอลไว้ค่ะเพื่อเป็นตัวดักใช่ค่ะค่ะเป็นตัวดักแบคทีเรียในอีกระดับหนึ่งกับสิ่งสกปรก
And they're also massively advocating education, so they're bringing children out here to work in this area and experience the natural surroundings which aren't particularly abundant in Bangkok. Oh, it's a bit smaller than mine. So we're going for a cycle around the lungs of Bangkok, the largest green area in the city. .50% of the global population are urbanized now, and that's supposed to increase to 75% over the coming decades. And it's really causing this discourse between the natural world and the understanding that people have of it. And that's certainly a primary problem with climate change, because people really don't join the dots that the human species really does have this massive impact on the natural world. On the banks of the Chao Phraya River, and the predictions for sea level rise over the next century, if we don't do anything about climate change, for sea level to rise by up to 1 meter. So that's seriously threatening for the coast and for the banks of the river and for Bangkok itself. So I'm here in Bangkok at UNDP Thailand, which is also the regional office for Asia Pacific, and also is involved with adaptation and mitigation measures for the globe. 3 fieldwork seasons down there, and in my final year. So I just met with the Thailand resident country coordinator for UNDP, and we spoke about local issues with climate change, but also spoke about more holistic issues globally. So I tried to put, there are many analogies that scientists try to use. So the regional team here works with a portfolio in over 80 countries around the world on adaptation and mitigation measures implemented by UNDP.
UNDP has a huge portfolio on climate change and the environment. We currently spend something in the order of $650 million a year on climate change and environment issues. We are doing a number of things across the world, but maybe I speak to 2. I cover sustainable development within UNDP, including the work on managing biodiversity and ecosystems. And here we've been looking to see how to use natural solutions, that's nature's infrastructure, wetlands, mangrove forests, and so on and so forth, to reduce the impacts of climate change on people.
So UNDP's support to countries on adaptation adopts a whole-of-government approach. Our philosophy is that adaptation must be dealt with at all levels of government, including at the community level. So our support to countries has largely been focusing on helping governments to integrate climate into its various planning and budgeting exercises within key sectors. More recently, we have started a program together with our colleagues in the Food and Agriculture Organization to ensure that climate change risks are taken into account in the agriculture sector.
So globally, all these adaptation and mitigation measures that are being implemented by UNDP and governments around the world, ultimately, if we don't address the source of the issue with climate change, which is carbon dioxide emissions, we're really dousing a global fire with regional solutions, and we really need to start addressing it at the focal point, and the beginning of that will be in Paris.